Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Now, if the bailiff will please step to the bench.
Mike, what in the world is going on?
I wish I knew.
Come on, Mike, you don't think this woman really exists, do you?
I'd be very surprised if she does.
She can't exist. Elliot is lying. Elliot was at Margot Dorn's apartment that night.
What the hell is going on?
I don't know what's going on. This guy says he can produce this woman, huh? And right now, the only way to save our bacon is to remove all suspicion from Elliot Dorn. That is what you want, isn't it, to win this case?
Oh, my God. What's up?
The witness just arrived.
Really? I didn't.
Mr. Nelson, is this your witness?
Yes, Your Honor, it is. The prosecution would like to call Miss Raven Swift to the stand.
Miss Raven Swift, please take the stand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
That'll be the first time.
I do.
State your name.
Mrs. Raven Alexander Jameson Swift.
Be seated.
Mrs. Swift, are you familiar with the defendant, Draper Scott?
Yes, I am. I know him very well.
What about the deceased, Margot Dorn?
No, I don't know her. I met her several times, but that's all.
But you do know her husband, Elliot Dorn.
Yes, I do.
How long have you known him?
About a year, maybe two.
Oh, then you're friends.
Yes, friends.
Yes. Is it true that you have been out of the country for a while?
Yes, I've been out for about 6 months in England.
With friends?
Parents.
I see. And when did you come back to Monticello?
About 6 weeks ago.
6 weeks ago?
Yes.
You didn't inform anyone? I mean, you didn't get in touch with any family or friends here in Monticello?
Not all of my friends, no.
Just Mr. Dorn?
Well, actually, it was an accident. I ran into Mr. Dorn, and I didn't want him to think I was snubbing him. I mean, actually, I didn't want to snub anyone, but I just wanted to be alone.
Why?
I just felt like it.
Why did you return to Monticello? I mean, any specific reason?
Well, I got bored with London, and I didn't like the weather. Does it really matter?
No, I guess it doesn't really matter. Well, do you remember exactly when you saw Mr. Dorn and under what circumstances?
I don't remember the exact date, but I know it was about a week before we got together.
Well, do you remember the exact date that you got together?
Yes, it was January 25th, the evening.
Are you aware of what else happened on January 25th?
Yes, I am. It was dreadful. But see, that's why I remember the exact date, because I remember waking up the next morning and hearing on the news that Margot Dorn was murdered or whatever. And I remember thinking that I was with Mr. Dorn at the same time that this terrible thing was happening.
You didn't feel any remorse about that?
Remorse?
No guilt?
Well, I was having dinner with a friend. I mean, I was just catching up on news about my family and friends. I don't see any reason to feel remorseful or guilty.
So that's all you were doing, just having dinner with Mr. Dorn?
Do I have to answer that question the way it's phrased?
How would you like me to rephrase it?
Elliot Dorn and I were having dinner on the evening of January 25th, and that's all I care to say about it.
Well, where did this dinner take place? Can you tell me the name of the restaurant?
Yes, it was the Hotel Bremen.
The Bremen? Where's that?
It's on Park and Division.
Division? That's awfully far to go to have dinner, isn't it? That's almost to the edge of town.
Yes, but it's not very far from me. You see, I was staying there.
I see. So you invited Mr. Dorn to have dinner with you in the hotel dining room?
Mr. Dorn and I had dinner to have a long chat about family and friends.
Can you prove that this dinner took place?
You think I came here to lie?
Please, just answer the question.
Yes, of course. I have here a charge slip for the dinner that was signed by Mr. Dorn, and if you'll look, you'll see there's a date stamped on it.
January 25th? As you can see, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this establishes the alibi for Mr. Dorn. Thank you. And thank you. No more questions.
Mr. Carr, do you wish to cross-examine?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Counselor, may I see that receipt, please?
Oh, of course.
Thank you. Mrs. Swift, first, let me welcome you back to Monticello.
Thank you, Mr. Carr.
On direct examination, you said you had been back in Monticello for 6 weeks and that you visited Mr. Dorn to catch up on the news of your family. Didn't it occur to you that you could catch up with that family news by visiting your husband and your baby? How opportune for Mr. Dorn.
Well, I'm very glad that Mr. Dorn and I were together that evening so that you couldn't possibly accuse him of...
Accuse him of what? Killing his wife?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm merely trying to have the witness amplify her own statement.
Objection overruled.
Well, Mrs. Swift, is that what you think might have happened?
Some people do have nasty minds.
Yes, I suppose some people do. This dinner you had at the Hotel Bremen, it was rather expensive, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I did offer to pay, but Mr. Dorn insisted. Of course, he paid with a credit card, and who knows who pays the credit card company?
Yes. Who knows? There seems to be some kind of surcharge on this receipt. Did you know that?
No, I didn't look.
Now, if you and Mr. Dorn were in the hotel dining room, isn't it possible that some of the waiters might have seen you together?
What if they had?
Or perhaps you weren't too worried about that, because you didn't have dinner in the dining room, did you? Well?
I told you that we wanted to have a private conversation.
So that's what this surcharge is. It's for room service, isn't it? You and Mr. Dorn had dinner sent to your room so you could catch up with the news about your family. No more questions, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Dorn.
The witness may step down.
Talk about that bad Penny always turning up. I never thought I'd see her again. And at the worst possible time.
Yeah, Mike.
There goes our reasonable doubt.
You didn't know? What do you mean you didn't know? How could you not know? Didn't you ask?
Because he didn't tell me. Elliot Dorn kept his mouth shut. He told me he was out with some woman. He didn't tell me her name.
Then how the hell did she get here? Who called her to come downtown?
He called her to come downtown all by himself. He came to me before the afternoon session, and he said that he finally located this woman, and she was on her way to the courthouse.
And it never occurred to you to ask what her name was.
I didn't care what her name was. I was so happy he was finally able to locate her. It didn't seem important to me.
Stupid.
You know,
Stupid.
we were losing this case at that time, and I had to do something. He looked awfully guilty sitting in that witness stand.
He is, for all you know. Don't forget that.
What do you mean he is? He was with her.
You believe that?
She can't
Of course
lie.
you do,
How
yeah.
can she lie? She had a credit card, remember? Remember that slip? They had dinner together. And I don't know what else they did, which reminds me, I have a dinner tonight. And I gotta get out of here.
Why'd she do it? Why'd she come back? There's got to be a reason. It wasn't just the lousy English weather.
Hey, listen, I'd like to know why she came back, too. You know, that is one beautiful-looking woman.
Well, Elliot still thinks so anyway, doesn't he?
What do you mean, still think so?
You got a dinner date, remember?
Hey, wait
Go
a-
eat.
Boss, look, I wouldn't have done this if it would cause you any trouble personally, you know?
Hell, you wouldn't. You got a case to win, remember?
Yeah, I got a case to win, remember? And I won it.
Yeah, maybe you have. Going home.
You're the one who gave me this case. I didn't want it. What do you want me to do, huh? Lose the case for you? I'll bet that's exactly what you wanted me to do for you.
No, 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 please. please, let's be civilized about
Oh,
this.
don't give me those damn B-movie admonitions. Civilized? Is that what you call your behavior?
Look, I simply had to see this woman. She practically twisted my arm.
Oh, I see. I see. It took wild horses to drag you into her bedroom.
No, we were not in her bedroom. She has a suite at the Bremen. We were having dinner in the living room. And as she said, all we did was talk. She wanted to know what had happened in Monticello during the time she was gone. And I can assure you there was a lot to talk about.
You're not asking me to be civilized, Elliot. You're asking me to be naive, deaf, dumb, and blind.
Listen, Nola, she has a baby. She asked me what happened to the baby. You know, she left it with April and Draper when she left for London.
Oh, wonderful woman.
Now, they didn't keep it. April Scott herself was pregnant, and Raven's husband kept. She has a husband, you know. He was a district attorney in there.
Yes, I saw how loving they were toward each other. I want to know how loving you were to her.
I wasn't loving to her. All we did was talk. I was acting as her newspaper, her gazette. You see? She wanted me to fill her in, and I told her everything that happened. I told her what happened to myself. I told her I'd left Margot.
Margot left you.
I told her about us. I told her that I had found someone true to love.
Oh, God, why? God, Elliot, you're not even good at it anymore. You know, that'd be the worst thing that could happen. If you stopped being good at lying.
Listen, Nora, please calm down.
You think I'm a fool? You think I'll stand for anything at all?
No, Nola. I know exactly what you are. You're a loving, kind woman. And you're a realist.
Yes, that's very true. I can be a realist when I want to be. I suppose that's what I have to be now.
Does this mean you forgive me, Nola? That you won't hold this momentary lapse against me?
Oh, so that's what you call it.
Well, it wasn't really a lapse. I can assure you I left the premises with my virtue intact.
Oh, how charming.
That's why I didn't want to go in the first place. But you see, there was this veiled threat. Oh, yes. Once Raven had found out that I was engaged to be married, I could just see her cunning little mind working. I could practically hear her thinking, wouldn't it be nice if I went up to Mrs. Nola Madison and had a little chat with her about her future husband?
Well, what could she say to me that I wouldn't like, Elliot? Never mind. Don't tell me. I figured it out for myself. She was the reason Margot threw you out.
Nothing of the kind, Nola.
Oh, please, don't say any more. Look, just promise me something.
Anything.
Promise me that you'll never see that damn bird woman again.
Bird woman? That's funny.
Vulture would be more like it. Far more fitting than Raven. Elliot, promise me. Don't see her. Don't call her. Don't go near her.
A promise is unnecessary, darling.
Not to me.
It's unnecessary to me because I've already made it to myself. The minute I saw her, I realized that the evening spent with Raven Swift was going to be the last. Let's go. Well, I have to admit that she did do me a good service by coming to the court and saving me from that predicament. But don't worry. I won't let my gratitude interfere with my common sense. I'll never see Raven again.
No, my dear. I'm afraid fate has stepped in and put an end to any ideas I might have had about broadcasting fame. No, I haven't heard a word. But who could think about it at a time like this? Margot Dorn is dead, and her son-in-law is on trial for her murder. No, Mrs. Reeves, I do not believe he is guilty. As a matter of fact, I can assure you... Well, yes. People say that one shouldn't discuss politics or religion. In my view, murder trials could go along in that category. Yes, of course. Goodbye, Mrs. Reeves. idiot. My God.
I'm sorry, it's perfect. I can't tell you the fun I'm having watching people's reactions every time they see me.
Raven, what are you doing here? Why aren't you in London?
Well, I was deported. They caught me trying to steal the crown jewels from the Tower of London.
That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
You know, I can't tell whether people are upset or happy to see me. They just all look shocked, as if I'm some kind of a ghost. I suppose that's what I am in Monticello. Well, how do I look? I don't look any older, do I? You don't, Lord knows. Think I've gained any weight? Actually, I don't see how I could have. The food was horrible. I mean, I took most of my meals at Mother's, but she must have hired the worst chef in the British Empire.
Raven, what is this? What are you doing here? Why in the heaven's name didn't you write?
Well, I wanted to surprise you. And Logan, too. And believe me, I have never seen a more surprised look on a man's face as when I walked into that courtroom.
You went to the trial?
Darling, I was the trial. But it's a long story, and I need something to drink. I'm very thirsty. You know, it's practically impossible to get drunk in England. Their liquor is only 70 proof, and when you ask for a drink, they give you 1 finger high.
I want to know why you're here.
Well, isn't it obvious? Several of my nearest and dearest friends are in terrible trouble. Poor Draper, how could they possibly accuse him of murdering his mother-in-law? Did he do it? Never mind. If he did, she probably deserved it. And April. I mean, she always was a little wisp of a thing. But when I saw her in the courtroom, I mean, she was next to nothing, even though she was... So she's gonna have a baby. It's wonderful. She must be 7 months by now, is that right? Ah, that reminds me. I want to see my son. Where is he?
Raven, I think it's best if you wait until
He
Logan
here?
gets back. Please don't. He's asleep.
Well, I think we should wake him up to see his mother. I just can't believe what happened actually happened.
It happened, all right. Raven's back, and she's given Dorn the alibi he needs.
An alibi supported by that credit card receipt.
Mike, couldn't that have been falsified?
Possibly.
Don't you think that it might be possible that there was some kind of collusion between the two
Of course that's a possibility, Nancy. Yeah, Raven and Elliot had been involved once before.
Don't kid yourself. The only person Raven is involved with is the one she stares at in the mirror every day.
Well, I think it's very odd that she was in town for so long and was still able to keep it a secret.
It does seem strange, doesn't it? But then Raven strikes me as a highly unpredictable young woman.
But I'll tell you one thing. All this talk about an innocent relationship is pure nonsense. They had an affair before she went to London, and now that she's back, they've picked it up all
Well,
over
wait a
again.
second. Isn't it possible that Margot knew that Raven was back?
Yes, it is possible.
And, wait a second. And if Raven tried to get back into Dorn's life, and Margot found out... What am I doing? I'm grasping at straws. I'm trying to blame this crime on somebody, on anybody.
Mike, what's going to happen now?
Well, I can tell you that exactly. First thing in the morning, the prosecution will rest its case.
Then it's our turn.
That's right, April. And we're going to convince that jury that Draper is innocent. Draper and I will convince them together.
But a grown-up little boy. I didn't know little boys grew up so fast, did you, Geraldine?
You never gave yourself much chance to learn anything about your son.
What a sweet little guy. Yeah, and you're very handsome, you know. You look just like your daddy. Don't you think he looks a little bit like Kevin?
Raven, for heaven's sake. You have even less decency than when you left.
Why? What did I say?
I know very well this is Logan's baby, not Kevin's. You needn't preserve that fiction for my sake.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I can't help but think sometimes that he's really Kevin's little boy.
Please, take him back to his bed.
Come on, I haven't seen him in a long time. That's right, and I bet you miss your mommy, don't you? I bet you'll miss your mommy. Look, Jamie, it's Dada. Yeah, why don't you say hello to Dada? Oh.
What are you doing here?
Well, I'm seeing my little son. I haven't seen him in a very long time.
I know very well how long it's been. You put him down right now.
No, don't you listen to Dad, Jamie. He's being a very bad man. Yes. A very bad man, and he wouldn't hurt a woman who's got a little baby in her arms.
Here, let me take him.
No. I have every right to have him. More right than you if you want to get technical, darling.
Please don't do this. Just for the sake of the child.
I am this child's mother, and we are only legally separated, so I'm still your wife.
You gave up the right to be either one a long time ago.
Well, maybe I'm going to take them both back.
What are you doing here?
I'm playing with my son. I haven't seen him in a long, long time.
Well, I am well aware how long it's been. You put him down.
Don't you listen to Dad, Jamie. He's being a very mean man. And he wouldn't hurt a woman with a baby in his arms?
Let me take him.
No! I have as much right to him as you do. More if you want to get technical about it, dear.
Raven, don't do this. Not in front of the child.
This is my child. And we're only legally separated, so I'm still your wife.
You gave up being either one a long time ago.
Well, maybe I want to take them both back.
You want to be a wife and mother, you better apply for the job someplace else.
Yes, well, I think perhaps I'd better leave.
Geraldine, stay, please. You belong here.
I appreciate the sentiment, Logan, but I think you should have the chance to talk over this matter in private.
I'm glad you understand.
In any case, I'm going to Nicole. She's invited me for the evening. But if you'd like me to put the baby to bed before I leave, then he really should be asleep.
No, I'll do it. I would love to. As a matter of fact, if he wants a bedtime story, I'll tell him all about London. No. Yeah. Come on.
I'm terribly sorry about this, Logan. There was nothing I could do. She just barged right in.
Please, it's not your fault.
He's crying. Maybe Grandma better put him to bed.
I don't give a damn why you left London. Why'd you come here? I mean, why'd you go to New York or Paris instead of good old Monticello?
Why should I go anywhere else? Everything I've ever wanted is in Monticello. My friends, my child, and my loving husband.
Loving. You've been in town more than a month. How come you're just getting around to contacting the people on that list, huh?
I told you in court I wanted to be alone.
Alone? That doesn't sound like you, Raven. What you been up to, huh?
Oh, Logan, does it really matter?
I know you ran into Elliot Dorn.
It was an accident. And when he knew I was here, I wanted to find out what was going on.
Well, you've certainly done that, haven't you? I mean, you've satisfied your curiosity. Why don't you do this town a favor? Leave.
You are so kind.
I could arrange a big send-off for you at the airport. Dozens of people.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You give people what they want, and they'll turn out.
So where am I going to go if I don't want to be alone? All my friends are here.
Oh, Raven. You don't have any friends left in this town. You alienated every one of them before you left.
That's not true, and you know it. My very best friend is here, and she's in trouble, and I'm not going to leave April like this.
April will do just fine without you.
You know, I've been thinking. She spent a lot of time with a would-be murderer. That's It sends shivers up and down my spine. When I think of how brutally he murdered his mother-in-law, it just makes me shocked.
I didn't know the verdict was in.
It's a pity you have to send your best friend up the river, isn't it?
I bet Draper's problem wasn't the only shock you received when you got into town, was it?
What do you mean?
Well, somehow I just can't see you taking the news of Elliot's engagement in your stride.
Well, I must admit, I nearly fell off my chair. I find it very ludicrous that he plans to marry that has-been actress.
Love is blind. I'll vouch for that.
With so many interesting things going on in Monticello, how could I possibly think of leaving? But I must run now, so I shall call you later. Perhaps I'll even let you take me out to dinner. I'm so happy to be back.
You're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Oh, am I? A woman appears in the courtroom, seemingly out of nowhere, and provides you with an alibi for your whereabouts the night of Margot's murder.
No luck.
Oh, well, she saved your neck, darling. I want to send her a thank you note.
She's a woman from my past, Nora, long before I met you.
You spent the evening with her in a hotel a month ago, darling.
Well, all we did was talk. You heard her testimony. She was under oath.
Mm-hmm. All she wanted was to be filled in on the local gossip.
Oh.
Oh, come on, Elliot. Conversation isn't exactly what you're best at.
Well, nothing happened.
She's very pretty. Raven was the bird you were carrying on with during your marriage to Margot, wasn't she?
No, I'm seeing a side of you I haven't noticed before.
Am I right?
Look, now, I told you, I swore to you that I was never going to see her again. Now, what else must I do to convince you that from now on you are the only woman in my life?
Saved by the bell. Yes?
Mrs. Madison, I'm Derek Mallory, Chief of Police. May I come in?
I don't recall your making an appointment, Chief Mallory.
I'm here on official business.
Very well. Look who's here, Elliot. None other than the Chief of Police.
I'm Chief Mallory.
Mr. Doran?
Oh, nice to see you again.
I don't suppose you're here to offer an apology to Elliot.
No, I'm not.
Well, I suppose the chief was only doing his job, as they say.
Yes, well, that young woman's testimony cleared Elliot of any involvement. What more information could he possibly provide you with?
Mrs. Madison, I'm here to talk to you.
Me? I told Detective Saxon I hardly knew the woman.
I wonder if we could talk in private, if you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind. If you need me, I'll be upstairs. I'm almost finished with the most interesting whodunit.
And you know very well who done it in this case, Chief Mallory. Draper Scott.
I'm not here about that, Mrs. Madison.
Oh?
I thought you might be interested in knowing we've managed to clear up another mystery.
Oh, don't tell me you go around giving personal reports to every taxpayer?
We've solved the case of the drugged detective and the poisoned physician.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do, Mrs. Madison. Or would you prefer being called Mrs. Corey? You see, I'm aware of all the facts concerning your masquerade, posing as Deborah's neighbor to get close to her.
I'm afraid you've lost me.
I also know about your illicit drug purchases of barbiturates and amphetamines from a young pusher named Benny Hayes.
Hayes? I don't believe I've heard that name before.
You carried your practical joke just a little bit too far when you started lacing those home-cooked goodies you'd made for Deborah with downers.
How could you accuse me of such a thing?
Now, don't tell me I'm suffering from paranoid delusions. I didn't drink out of the water cooler in Miles Kavanaugh's office, the one you poured all those amphetamines into.
Where did you get this information?
You had no idea how much drugs you were feeding them. Now, they both could have died from overdoses. Or didn't that concern you?
I don't care to listen to any more of this.
In case you're not aware of it, you've committed crimes, Mrs. Madison. Illegally obtaining a controlled substance, reckless endangerment. Now, those are just for starters.
Am I to call my attorney? Are you here to arrest me?
I wish I was. You're a lucky woman. Neither one of your victims seems willing to prosecute you.
Meaning you can't substantiate those accusations.
Not for the moment.
Well, then, don't you think you ought to be a bit more restrained in banding about insinuations of that kind?
We both know what you did.
For your information, this is the first I'm hearing this absurd fable.
Oh, please.
I can assure you it's completely untrue.
Let's not play games, Mrs. Madison.
All right, let's not. It's no secret. There's no love lost between Deborah Saxon and myself. I suppose she enlisted Dr. Kavanaugh in this conspiracy to discredit me. And that's all this is, you realize.
You can deny it all you want, but I know the truth.
Considering you have no proof, I sincerely hope that you won't go leaking your suspicions to the press. The adverse publicity from those lies could prove ruinous, not only to myself, but my husband as well.
I can assure you this will be our little secret just until I can get your name on an arrest warrant.
Threats, Mr. Mallory?
Promises, Mrs. Madison. I'm not going to stop trying to get them to change their minds about signing a complaint. And no matter what, I'm not going to forget about what you've done. I'll see myself out. Good night, Mrs. Madison.
I heard the door slam, and you're still here. Well, at least they didn't take you downtown for something, my pet.
I'm not in the mood for that kind of humor.
What's the matter?
I'll be all right.
What did Chief Mallory want?
He just wanted to go over the statement that I'd made regarding my relationship with Margot.
Well, the chief of police came all the way over here for that.
Oh, God, he was so unfriendly. Just like most of the people I've met in Monticello.
Don't concern yourself with the outside people. I'm a friend. I'm right here beside you, and I always will be here.
And between the people and the frigid weather, I've had about as much of this winter wonderland as I can stand. Elliot, do you know what would make me happy? We've been talking about going to California. Let's go, and the sooner the better.
You mean right now?
Yes, yes, we can pack, tie up loose ends, and be off.
Well, I thought we had agreed to stay a while.
Oh, that was when Margot was alive, when there was the matter of your divorce to consider. But now we can be married in California, just as soon as my divorce comes through.
Oh, you know, there's nothing I would like more, my pet.
And the next word you're going to say is but.
But we can't leave. Not just yet.
Getting cold feet. Well, it's no wonder we've been in this icebox all winter.
It's not that, no. It's the trial. I mean, a few days ago, I was still a suspect, and now I'm supposed to be a grieving widower. I can hardly fly off into the sunset with my blushing bride-to-be without waiting for my wife's murder to be brought to justice.
Yes,
Can I?
I suppose we do have to keep up appearances. Well, all right. The trial should be over in a matter of days. Just as soon as Draper is found guilty, it'll be California, here we come.
That's wonderful. No?
It's all waiting for us there. Your movie career and our lives together.
Allison, come on in.
Oh, thank you for seeing me on such short notice.
What can I do for you? Are you not feeling well?
Well, actually, I'm making a house call of sorts. I came by to see how you were doing.
Yes, I know I was acting strangely when I was at your office. I owe you an apology for my behavior.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. I was not myself.
I know. An amphetamine overdose has that effect on a person.
You know, I was going to tell you. How'd you find out?
Your wife told me.
Nicole, I don't recall telling her about our meeting or even that we know each other.
Probably a lot of other things you don't remember from that drug-induced state.
No, maybe you're right. I'm sorry. Sit down, please.
Well, Nicole thought I would be concerned, so she came by to fill me in. I'm really glad she did.
Well, as you can see, I've got a brand new bottle in the water cooler. No chemicals added. The water is fresh and clear.
And is your mind as clear as that water, Miles?
Oh, my, we got into that smoothly, didn't we, Doctor? No, I'm afraid not yet.
You're still experiencing effects from the drugs.
Well, yeah, I'm going through withdrawal, I guess. I feel like I'm itching all over from the inside out. It is not pleasant.
Oh, this must be difficult for you to go through alone.
Well, I'm going to be able to handle it.
Miles, I think you'd have a better chance for a fast and complete recovery if you went home.
Allison, I know you mean well, but right now I don't think it'd be a wise idea.
Don't you want to go home?
More than anything in the world.
Then what's stopping you?
I'm afraid to.
Why do you feel like that?
I feel I should be lying on a couch staring at the ceiling answering these questions.
Just consider it professional curiosity.
Well, listen, I know I'm better, but I'm not well. I don't trust myself yet.
Well, in what way?
Did Nicole tell you about any things that happened?
Oh, she described your anger, your jealousies.
Well, almost anything set me into a rage. There was an accident, for example. Nicole fell on the stairs, hit her head. I was responsible for that.
No, you weren't.
Yes, believe me, I was. I was afraid I'd killed her.
As far as Nicole is concerned, that incident is forgotten.
Not by me. It's not forgotten. See, because the same drug that caused the incident is still inside my body.
To a much lesser degree now.
Maybe so, but I'm still not in control, Allison. I don't want to take the chance of causing another scene like that one. If I were ever to do Nicole any real harm, I'd never forgive myself.
Miles, you never made an actual attempt to harm
Look,
her.
No, Allison, if I hadn't started the argument, it never would have happened.
Oh, Miles, one of the reasons that argument took place was because Nicole was totally bewildered by your behavior. She didn't know how to react to you. But now she understands what's happened. She can deal with your problem. I think she can help you deal with it.
I don't know.
She wants you home, Miles.
Soon.
Oh, Nicole loves you very much. She's committed to help you through this in any way she can.
Believe me, I would like nothing better than to go home.
Oh, then go. You're only delaying this. You're hurting yourself and her.
Well, maybe I'm ready. I just don't know.
Miles, you are aware that the jealousy you felt regarding your wife and Derek was undeserved.
Well, yes. Of course. I mean, it must be.
That's what's so frustrating. There aren't any other suspects with Elliot crossed off the list, just Draper. And he isn't guilty.
It's a terrible ordeal.
One who's really suffering is April.
What a dreadful burden for that child to carry, trying to cope with the loss of her mother and the trial.
And becoming WMON's owner has put a lot of pressure on her, too. April and I were talking about the station and its problems earlier today. By the way, we're both sorry that the reorganization is going to postpone you joining the station as our political analyst.
No, my dear, that isn't important.
However, the more April and I talked about your potential value to the station, the more another idea began to take hold. April wanted me to talk to you about this, Geraldine. Have you ever considered doing more for the station than just political broadcasting?
My dear, I never even considered that until Margot approached me about it.
April needs a station manager. She needs somebody with good organizational ability, good judgment, somebody with a sense of commitment.
My dear, are you suggesting that I...
Yes, I am.
Well, Nicole, I'm very flattered that you and April have that kind of trust in me, but as unqualified as I felt to serve as a political analyst, my lack of experience for this job would be 10 times greater.
No, not necessarily. You know, the objectives of politics and broadcasting are very similar, theoretically. The idea is to serve the public's best interest.
But we're talking about apples and oranges.
No, I don't think so. Well, the day-to-day running of the station you would have to learn, but I think you could do that pretty quickly. But the thing that it's going to be very difficult for April to find is somebody who has the qualities that you already possess. Geraldine, you understand power, and you know how to use it. And you can handle money, obviously. You're at ease with influential people. It would be a challenge for you, but April and I think that you could handle it if you're interested. Excuse me. Derek, hi.
Nicole, good evening.
Good evening. Do you know Mrs. Saxon?
Mrs. Saxon.
She's
It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
How are you?
What can I do for you? Would you like a drink?
Oh, no, thank you. I came to see Miles. I've got a case that requires some forensic work, and I'd like to call him in on it.
Miles isn't here right now.
Was he out on a medical emergency?
No, I don't know just when he's going to be back.
Well, I assumed since everything was straightened out that he'd be back home.
I expect him to come through that door any minute now.
Oh, I see.
Soon?
Well, I'll try to get him at his office tomorrow. I won't take up your evening. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Derek. Derek, thank you.
Damn. It's still going on. It's not just in my mind.
How you doing, killer? Put up quite a little yell there when your mama tried to put you to bed. Not that I blame you. Good judge of character. You and me and Geraldine, we got along pretty well, didn't we? Without her. Yeah. Oh, easy. Don't you worry. Nothing's gonna change that. Nothing at all.
As far as I'm concerned, nothing has changed in bed. I want to see you tonight.
Elliot, I can't see you tonight, or any other night for that matter.
That doesn't sound like the Raven I know and love.
I'm a changed woman, don't you know?
You'll never change. You're just as desirable now as you were 6 long months ago, even more so.
Well, I guess you'll just have to take a cold shower then. Or snuggle up next to Nola, because I have to be a very, very good girl.
But you are very good. The best, as a matter of fact.
Well, I'm also a wife and a mother, and I have certain responsibilities.
Oh, is that why you're playing the role of Saint Raven?
Elliot, Logan and I are merely separated.
And you're trying to effect a reconciliation?
I'm gonna do what I have to do.
Listen, you're deluding yourself. Logan is no fool. Considering what you did to him, there's no way he's going to take you back in a million years.
There happens to be something that we both want, and I am going to get it. After that, who knows?
Hey. Well, I guess it's not a good thing to tell somebody that they don't look well, but you look tired. You've got me worried.
Thank you. No, it's, I wish I could tell you it's because I didn't sleep last night, but the truth is I did. I slept like a log. Problem is, though, I just woke up feeling as if I hadn't slept in days.
It's not good.
No, but, I really think it's just a letdown, you know? I was feeling so hopeful when Mike had Elliot on the stand. I was so convinced that he was guilty. But I guess maybe it was just that I was hoping that he was guilty. You know, it would have made things very neat and very convenient.
Oh, yeah, well, it would have been perfect, but Life isn't usually that neat.
No. I wasn't hoping that they'd, convict Elliot. It's just that if the jury thought that he could have committed the murder, then that would have been the reasonable doubt that Draper needed.
Yeah, but it isn't necessary that they believe that somebody else is guilty. The important thing is that they believe that Draper is innocent, and that's what they're going to think today when they hear him testify.
Do you really believe that?
Yes. You know Draper's going to be convincing.
I know Draper's going to be convincing because I know Draper. The jury doesn't know him.
April. Oh, honey, hi. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Okay. You can't seem to stay away from this courtroom, can you?
Well, actually, I didn't come to see the trial. I can't bear that whole horrible thing, but I came to see my very best friend. You don't think I'm still your friend, I can tell.
Raven, what you did yesterday wasn't exactly an act of friendship. Well, at least not for Draper.
You mean for going on the stand and telling the truth about Elliot? So what was I supposed to do?
Nothing, I suppose.
Look, April, I didn't want to say anything. I made Elliot promise not to say anything about us being together that night. But we didn't know that Margot was going to be murdered. I'm sorry.
It's all right. You don't have to apologize. I know my mother was murdered. I also know that it wasn't my husband who did it.
Well, of course he didn't do it. I know that. I know Draper just about as well as you do. I was engaged to him first, you know.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
I know Draper couldn't have done anything like that. And they'll find out it's a big mistake when he goes on the stand and tells the truth. That's what he's going to do, right? Mike Carr's going to call him up there?
Yes, Draper's going to testify today. I gather you plan to attend.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. Can I sit with you, too?
Raven, why haven't you been in the courtroom before this?
I told you. I just didn't want anyone to know I was in town.
Why? I mean, why the big mystery?
I don't know. I felt like it. You know me.
Yes, I do.
April, look. I did not mean to hurt you or Draper. It's just Elliot called me and he was very upset. He was just trying to protect me and it made him look like he was a suspect. So what could I do? I'm the only one who knew he was very far away from that apartment when the murder took place.
Look, I'm not trying to blame you.
Good. Made me come out of hiding anyway, and I'm glad because now I can be here to help my friend.
What about your husband?
Logan and I are separated, you know that? I saw him yesterday. I also saw my little baby. He's adorable. Have you seen him?
Not recently.
You know, it's really a shame that you and Draper didn't keep him. I was really sorry about that. You two would have made lovely parents.
They will make lovely parents.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I mean, it's obvious you're going to have a baby of your own. I was so happy when I heard the news.
I'm sure you were.
Okay, you can come in now.
You about him?
I don't know. I can't just... It's okay. Let's stay here.
All rise. Criminal Court of the County of Monticello is now in session. The Honorable Martin Oliveri presiding. Be seated.
Mr. Nelson, does the prosecution wish to call another witness?
No, Your Honor. This time the prosecution rests.
Very well. Mr. Carr, does the defense wish to call its first witness?
We do, Your Honor. We call the defendant, Draper Scott.
Mr. Draper Scott, please take the stand. Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name.
Draper Scott.
Be seated.
Mr. Scott, what is your profession?
I'm an attorney.
In fact, for the information of the jury, I think it should be stated that you have been my law associate for a period of almost 3 years.
That's right.
Are you married?
Yes, I am.
Your wife is April Kavanaugh Scott, the daughter of the deceased.
That's right.
Where do you live?
Here in Monticello, actually in a suburb, Oakdale.
You and your wife are expecting your first child, is that right?
Yes, yes we are.
All in all, prior to this tragedy, which has brought us into this courtroom, would you have described yourself as a contented person?
I would say I was much more than that. I was a very happy, a very fortunate man.
But like most of us, you weren't completely free of problems, were you? We've heard testimony in this courtroom to the effect that you did not get along well with your wife's mother.
Yes, that's true. But not all the time. There were periods when we did get along.
Had you been getting along well recently?
Yes, we had. But I think that was due to the fact that my wife and I were expecting our first child.
Margot Dorn was quite pleased about becoming a grandmother, wasn't she?
Oh, yes, she was.
In fact, didn't she set up a kind of endowment fund for the child?
Yes. There's a trust fund with $12,000 in it. More is going to be added later when I could have afforded it.
I thought you said that it was Mrs. Dorn's fund.
Well, it is, but you see, the fund is composed of money that I returned to Mrs. Dorn from a loan.
Actually, that was no ordinary debt, was it? You were paying back Margot Dorn for the down payment she made on your home.
Yes, that's true. But it's to Mrs. Dorn's credit that she agreed to use that money for our child. So I accepted the money in the baby's name.
And this happened just a few weeks ago, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
That doesn't sound to me as if you were on bad terms with your mother-in-law.
Well, we weren't. I mean, until very recently.
What happened then?
I found out that Mrs. Dorn lied to me. I mean, she lied to my wife as well. You see, I was offered a job in New York City, and I found out that Mrs. Dorn forced somebody in New York to withdraw that job offer, and she did that behind my back.
When did you learn the truth about this?
Just the day before the assault.
And how did you feel about what she had done?
I was angry. I was very angry. But I wasn't angry enough to kill anybody.
So after you returned home from New York City, you felt that you had to confront your mother-in-law with the facts you had just learned.
That's right. I had to tell her how I felt.
But you didn't just barge in there, did you? You called her.
Yes, that's right. I called her. Margot, it's Draper.
Oh, Draper, darling. Hello, how are you? How was your business trip?
Very productive. I learned a great deal.
Well, April was terribly unhappy to have you out of town last night. It's too bad you had to stay over.
Well, I'm afraid she's not much happier now that I'm back. I'm very angry, Margot.
Why did things go that badly?
Look, Margot, I want to talk to you. I want to see you right away.
Oh, you mean you and April?
No, Margot, just me. April wants to come with me, but I won't let her. She's not going to like what I have to say.
What do you mean?
Margot, when I was in New York, I didn't go there just to see a client. I saw David Henson's widow.
Oh, yes, I heard that he had died, the poor man.
I'm sure that makes you very sad, Margot, especially since the two of you were such good friends. Mrs. Henson told me exactly how good. She also told me that her husband would have done anything for you.
Look, whatever she told you was probably grossly exaggerated. I'm afraid the woman does not like me very
Look,
much.
Margot, I'll be over there in half an hour. We'll talk about it then.
No, Draper, don't come over when you're in such a bad mood. You'll probably say something you'll regret. Look, call me tomorrow and we'll set up a meeting.
No, Margot, it's going to be tonight. If I don't get the answers to these questions, I swear to God, you'll never set foot in my house again.
All right, but not right this minute. I have an errand I have to take care of. Could you make it in about an hour?
I'll see you then.
How long was it before you saw Mrs. Dorn?
About an hour later. Actually, I got to the apartment house about 10 minutes early. I just waited in the car until I saw her go in. She went in and I followed her. The doorman told me that she had gone up, and I knew that because I saw the elevator doors close. So I simply pushed the elevator button and went upstairs. Oh my God, Margot. Hello, I need an ambulance right away. 123 Rivershore Drive. Dorn, D-O-R-N, Margot Dorn. It's in the penthouse. She's in very bad shape. She has a head injury. I don't know if she's dead or alive. It looks like murder. Scott, Draper Scott. Yeah, I'll be here. And hurry.
You said you picked up another fireplace iron, not the poker that was introduced by the prosecution as the murder weapon.
Yes, that's right. I picked it up to protect myself.
And you felt you had to do that because of the noise you'd heard on the terrace.
Yeah, that's right. The noise I heard was a tree that the wind had blown over on the terrace. I assumed that the assailant was still in the apartment. And I certainly didn't want to end up like Mrs. Dorn.
Of course not. So, acting on instinct, you picked up this fireplace iron to protect yourself. And that's how you got the soot on your hands.
Yes, that's right. I probably picked up the wrong end.
But you didn't find anyone in the apartment, did you?
No, I didn't. It was empty.
Is it possible? Are you sure that no one got into that elevator while you were exploring the other rooms of the apartment?
Absolutely. No one was there when I arrived, and no one left while I was there.
Mr. Scott, do you realize what you're saying? Do you realize how impossible you're making this murder sound?
Yes, I do. And I really can't explain it. I only know one thing. I had nothing to do with that murder.
This is so exciting. I just wish that Logan had a more active part.
Well, he can't very well do that. He's Draper's best friend.
Oh, no, I suppose not.
Does the prosecution care to cross-examine this witness?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor, of course.
Very well.
Mr. Scott, you say you didn't get along with your mother-in-law. Is that correct?
Yes, sometimes.
Well, that's an American tradition, isn't it? Not getting along with your mother-in-law? Except that you carried it a bit far. In fact, the antagonism you felt for Margot Dorn went back a long way, to about a year ago when you first met her. Is that true?
I didn't even realize that my wife had a mother who was alive until that point. Do you understand that Mrs. Dorn refused to even acknowledge her daughter for 25 years?
And you resented that, didn't you?
If you're asking me whether it helped me to like her more as a person, the answer is no.
And you liked it even less when you realized that she was trying to win the affections of her daughter at any cost.
Mr. Nelson, I find nothing wrong with affection. I'm rather fond of it myself.
Too bad you didn't use any of that affection on Margot Dorn. You quarreled with her often, isn't that true? And this is long before this business about her paying for the house.
She didn't pay for the house. She simply put 1/3 down.
Without your knowledge, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
In fact, you didn't like her meddling in your affairs and the affairs of her daughter one bit ever since she came to Monticello, true?
She never succeeded in that.
Because you fought her.
Your choice of words, Mr. Nelson, not mine.
Well, you didn't win very often because she used subterfuge. She was very clever. She lied, she cheated, she blackmailed.
Objection, Your Honor. I don't think it's necessary for the prosecutor to smear the reputation of a dead woman.
Your Honor, these are words which have been used in this court to describe the tactics of the deceased already.
Objection is denied.
Thank you. Mr. Scott. You say that your mother-in-law lied and cheated, that she used blackmail on people in order to do you harm.
I know for a fact that Margot Dorn blackmailed David Henson. She threatened to destroy his marriage unless he did what she said.
And prevent you from getting a job which you wanted very much.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, you say that you hated your mother-in-law. But you didn't hate her enough to kill her. Does that mean that when you went to the apartment that night in question that murder was not on your mind?
That's right, it wasn't on my mind.
Well, is it possible, then, that it occurred to you while you were there?
It didn't happen.
Isn't it possible, Mr. Scott, that when you were standing there face to face, accusing her of what
I
she
never
had
was
done,
face to face with her.
that she became abusive, and she became violent, not at all remorseful, and this upset you even more?
That didn't
correct?
happen.
Or maybe it didn't happen that way. Maybe there was no idea of murder. Perhaps just an impulse caused you to grab that poker and strike Margot Dorn.
Objection, Your Honor.
It's a simple, direct question, Your Honor. You can answer it.
Objection denied.
Thank you. You're a lawyer, Mr. Scott. I'm sure you've handled cases where someone's impulse overcomes their common sense. Isn't it possible that someone would lose their head in a moment of fury?
Mr. Nelson, anything is possible. But that didn't happen to me that evening.
Did you have a drink that night?
Yes.
More than one?
Yes.
Mr. Scott, how can you explain the fact that on her deathbed, your mother-in-law accused you of assault?
That's a lie!
You heard Dr. Corwin's testimony, didn't you?
Objection, Your Honor. The question is immaterial.
It's not immaterial. It's just testimony from another witness in the record. I'm merely asking the defendant to answer the question.
Sustained.
I would like that question stricken from the record, Your Honor.
The court recorder will do so.
All right, Mr. Scott, suppose that there were another perpetrator. Do you have any idea how this mysterious assailant could have committed this crime?
I'm afraid I have no idea.
You're sure that you searched that apartment thoroughly?
Mr. Nelson, the apartment is very small. There are only 5 rooms, 2 bedrooms, living room, kitchen, and the den.
Oh, and a terrace, too. You keep mentioning this terrace constantly. Do you think that's how the perpetrator escaped?
Perhaps he did. I don't know. The doors were open.
Oh, it's 30 floors above the ground, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, do you believe that some supernatural force was involved here?
Objection, Your Honor. The question is
I know who that man is. I remember where he's from. That. He's the man in my dream.
Excuse me, Your Honor, one moment. Well then, Mr. Scott, your conclusion is that somehow, some way, someone got into that apartment before Margot Dorn arrived. And then when she stepped out of the elevator, this mysterious person administered the blow which caused her death. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, that seems to be the only possible solution.
And then somehow, some way, this mysterious person just vanished into thin air, disappearing, of course, leaving you holding the poker. You know, I find that very, very difficult to believe. And I really don't see how you can believe it either, ladies and
Objection,
gentlemen.
Your Honor. Mr. Nelson is giving his summation to the jury.
Never mind, Your Honor. I'll withdraw the question. I have no further use of the witness.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would like to redirect.
Go ahead.
I have just one question. Mr. Scott, Draper, did you kill your wife's mother?
No. I certainly did not.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Witness may step down. Do you wish to call another witness?
Your Honor, I'm afraid the only witness I would like to call is the person who really did kill Margot Dorn.
Objection, Your Honor. This is a
I
theatrical
withdraw the statement, Your Honor. My apologies to the court. At this time, the defense rests.
Very well. Since both sides have rested their case, this court will be adjourned until 1:30 p.m., at which time we'll hear the summations.
All rise.
What is it? Is it pain? Now, is it? Now I'll get a doctor. I think I better go to the hospital. I don't think this is a false alarm this time.
Oh, God.
Oh. Why don't you try your breathing with this contraction, April?
Because it's not supposed to be happening yet. It's too soon.
April, I am not sure exactly what is happening, at least just not yet.
Well, Doctor, maybe it's false labor like last time, right?
Well, at this point, the symptoms are indistinguishable.
Are you saying that I could be having a baby any minute?
Well, your contractions are more frequent than they were the last time, and I'm a little concerned about that. But the fetal heartbeat is strong. We'll just have to wait and see.
Boy, babies certainly do have a way of choosing their own time, huh?
Well, the most important thing is that you're here now, where we have a staff and facilities at your disposal.
Doctor, I don't think you understand. The court reconvenes in less than an hour.
Oh, you're not going anywhere, young lady, not at the moment.
And I'm not going anywhere either until I find out what's happening with you.
Well, Draper, if I'm going to have a baby right now, I sure would feel better knowing you're close by.
Honey, the fact that you're going to have a baby, maybe today, is a legitimate excuse to cancel court this afternoon.
But you can't stay.
I'm not leaving until...
You've got to go back to the courtroom.
I'm not leaving until I see what's going on here.
Draper, I don't want the trial delayed because of me. Oh, God, don't you understand? We got to get this whole ugly thing over with. Draper, I'm not going to be able to relax until that jury acquits you.
Mr. Scott, I will not release April until I find out why she's experiencing these pains. And that could mean hours, even days of observation.
It's okay. There might be plenty of time. You go back to the courtroom. Let's get this ugliness over with. Go ahead.
Okay, sweetheart. If that's what you want, I'll do it. I love you.
I love you. I'll keep you posted on April's condition.
All right.
Good luck. Come back soon.
Okay.
Any news?
Oh, they're not sure whether it's false labor or the real thing this time.
I'll phone Judge Oliveri's chambers and request a delay.
No! April wants to get the trial over with. So do I. Mike, that's just what we're going to do.
How glad I am to see you. I thought everybody had left me when the court...
Oh, no. They're all on their way, but, you know, Draper's gonna have plenty of people in that courtroom to care for him, and worried about you. I don't want you to be alone.
Oh, thanks. Oh, excuse me.
I gather that you may have a very impatient young lady on your hands. You know, I figured this all out. Now, Julia is a little bit upset. She didn't want to be in the courtroom this afternoon and hear Cliff Nelson deliver his summation to the jury.
You'd be kicking up your heels, too, if you had to sit there and listen to that Nelson talk about how your father, or your husband for that matter, is a murderer.
Look what I've got.
Oh.
Listen, even though this is a false alarm, you might get in a little bit of practice timing.
Well, thank you. Even if it is a false alarm, it's kind of good timing, huh? I mean, I didn't want to go to that courtroom this afternoon. I didn't want to listen to Nelson anymore. I'll tell you when I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there when the jury comes in and gives the verdict.
I know.
Nicole, I'm scared. I keep trying to pretend that this whole thing is just isn't happening, but I can't. It's just so damn real.
You're hot. Maybe I can freshen this for you a little bit.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hey, you know what I'm curious about? What you were telling me in court this morning, just before you got ill, all about with the policeman, Sam Dwyer. You said you remembered seeing him in a dream.
Yeah, so it's silly. I don't know. I was just looking at him this morning, and he just, I know, something just clicked in my brain. I think it was that silver bracelet he wears. The whole thing just became very familiar. Nicole, I know now. He's the man in the dream. Now all I have to figure out is what he's doing in that courtroom every single day.
You know, some guys seem to have all the luck. The last time I was sent out of town, it was to alligator country in Florida.
Calvin, when I was in L.A., I still tried to keep track of what was going on here in Monticello, especially with Draper's trial.
Oh, you mean it made the papers out there?
Every day. From what I read, Draper was not getting the best end of the deal.
And that, my friend, is looking at it optimistically.
Well, you know, the trial's almost over. They're going to give their summations this afternoon, and then the case is going to go to the jury.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it's going to be a close one.
What gets me is if Draper is found guilty, it's not going to be the jury or Cliff or Logan who's responsible. It is going to be us.
Oh, Red, come
Oh,
on.
you know it is true. Almost all of us had a hand in helping put this case together
Look,
against Draper.
we were assigned to investigate Margot Dorn's murder, and that is exactly what we did.
All we did was dig a deeper hole for Draper.
We tried every way we could to find a way to help the guy. Now, what else were we supposed to do?
We could have come up with an ingenious solution, one that would have cleared Draper.
But we didn't now, did we?
We've got to get back to court.
The court is prepared to entertain closing arguments. Mr. Nelson, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor, we are. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, seems every time I'm standing in front of you is to thank you. This time I'd like to thank you for your time and your attention concerning the facts involving the case of the State versus Draper Scott. Once again, I use that word, facts. Now, what lies in front of you is a difficult and painful deliberation. Now, admittedly, I am not asking you to return a guilty verdict against some hardened criminal. No, Draper Scott is just like any one of you, a member of this community in fine standing, with a fine reputation. Indeed, until the night of January 25th, he probably could be considered a pillar in the society here of Monticello. But that has nothing to do with his guilt or innocence. And it's that guilt or innocence that you have to decide. Now, when you return your verdict of guilty, Judge Oliveria may consider the past history of the defendant in deciding the severity of punishment. But that's not your concern. Your concern is the actions of Draper Scott in Margot Dorn's apartment on the night in question, when he committed the most severe blow against the conduct of the code of our society, and that is the taking of another human life. Now, the prosecution would not waste the time or the energy or the effort to bring Draper Scott to trial if we do not believe that this guilty verdict was deserved. We're not here just to gather convictions. We're here to serve justice, and justice can only be served by you returning the verdict of guilty. Now, I believe the prosecution has shown you enough facts to warrant only one conclusion, and that is upholding the charge of murder in the second degree against Draper Scott, because he surely, beyond a reasonable doubt, did commit this crime. Now, there are two things, I'm sure you know by now, which should be proven. One, that the accused had a reason to commit such a grievous act, or motive. And secondly, that the time and the place were at hand, or opportunity. Draper Scott had both. You've heard the witnesses. He did have a motive. Margot Dorn, through guile and deception, had cheated him out of a job which he coveted. And this was not the first time that she had played such games with his life. The anger which resulted in the assault had been festering for a long time. And Mr. Scott had opportunity. A thorough police investigation revealed that he followed his mother-in-law by scant seconds into that elevator to the penthouse. When he arrived on the 30th floor, he confronted his mother-in-law regarding her interference in this lost job opportunity. Now, in the argument that followed, he, spurred on by her apparent disregard for his situation, flew into an angry rage and seized the fireplace poker and inflicted the injury resulting in the death of Margot Dorn. Now, he claims that he did not do this act. In fact, the entire case of the defense is based on his denial of involvement. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this just does not negate the facts. Now, suppose there were another perpetrator. Surely, in this apartment, sealed off from the rest of the world except by this one elevator, Draper Scott would have come in contact with the assailant. But he, by his own testimony, says he didn't. And the defense has never offered one idea as to an alternate suggestion as to how this crime could have been committed. And I offer to you it's because there are none. Now, like Draper Scott, Margot Dorn was also a member of this community in fine standing, with a fine reputation, owner of the television studio, a pillar of society in Monticello, who deserved to live a full and happy life. But Draper Scott saw fit to end that life in a moment of blinding rage. Now, I'm sure that you'll realize, as I have, that there are two victims in this case. Of course, there's the deceased, Margot Dorn, but there's also the defendant, Draper Scott, for they both have suffered for his actions that night. But you must return a verdict of guilty against Draper Scott. If you find him not guilty, if you find him innocent, then that's tantamount to your approval of his actions. You would be condoning the violent acts of any hot-headed citizen. Now, that is a very dangerous precedent. Now, if Draper Scott is acquitted, you'll be including the word anger as a legal justification for the taking of another human life. Now, this is something that you cannot and must not do. When Judge Oliveria charged you with the law involved in this case, I'm sure you'll find there's only one possible logical verdict you can reach, and that is to find the defendant, Draper Scott, guilty of murder in the second degree. Once again, I thank you.
Are you ready to close to the jury, Mr. Carr?
Yes, I am, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, although the Assistant District Attorney and I are seated at opposing tables in this action, we have the same objective. We are both here to see that justice is served. However, unlike Mr. Nelson, I believe that can only be accomplished by the acquittal of Draper Scott, since he is innocent of the charge. Mr. Nelson has offered you a very interesting summation, but I'm afraid I'll have to take the time to point out several inaccuracies on his part. He told you were not to consider anger as a viable excuse for murder. We agree wholeheartedly. But he cleverly placed that suggestion in the context of implying that a vote of not guilty would be condoning actions we maintain never took place. We, from the very beginning of this trial, have contended that Draper Scott had no involvement whatsoever in this brutal attack that took Margot Dorn's life. Our defense has never been based on anger, but instead on error. The wrong man has been accused of this crime. We readily admit the circumstances are baffling. Mr. Nelson seems to place a great deal of importance on the fact that the defense has not presented any alternate theories, so-called counter-arguments. He suggests the reason we have not done so is because of our knowledge that there is only one possible solution. Nothing could be further from the truth. The reason we have not presented any theories as to who done it is simply because it is not the defense's job to engage in games of speculation. My sole function in this courtroom is to present facts that prove innocence. And the fact is, how this murder was successfully executed still remains a mystery. It appears as if the real assailant attacked Mrs. Dorn shortly after she entered her apartment and somehow managed to escape and avoid capture. Monticello is fortunate in having an efficient police force, and I'm sure that eventually they will track down and apprehend the person responsible. But right now, the guilty party is free, probably keeping close track of this trial, thinking himself very clever to have gotten away, and very lucky that Mr. Scott arrived moments after that deed was done. Now, I can assure you that when that person is taken into custody, it will be someone with less moral character than Draper Scott. The man seated at this table has dedicated the better part of his life to the study and practice of the law. He has lived his life in a manner which has proved his deep respect and love for the law. The basic tenets of right and wrong are so ingrained in Draper Scott, it is incomprehensible that he would choose to disregard them, no matter how extreme the provocation. Understand, I am not just extolling the virtues of a client. Unlike Mr. Nelson, whose insights into the defendant's character are based on pure conjecture, my observations come from a close personal friendship that has lasted many years. I felt so strongly about his ability and his integrity that I brought him into my law firm. It was one of the wisest moves I ever made. The prosecution has called this a crime committed in anger. I'm well aware that psychiatrists contend that the capability of violence exists in each and every one of us. But to assume that a man with the gentle nature of Draper Scott, a man who has never shown the slightest inclination toward physical force, would be capable of such a crime is truly asking us to stretch our imaginations. Mr. Scott readily admits that he was angry when he went to visit his mother-in-law, that he wanted to have it out with her because of the deceitful trick she had played. But his weapons for that confrontation were going to be words. He was going to vent his hostility in a perfectly civilized and legal manner. I can believe, given the circumstances, that Draper might have raised his voice. But to raise a poker and brutally beat her to death, never! Draper's love of the law isn't the only rationale I give you to prove his inability to commit this crime. He has another love, one far more tangible. His wife, April. He loves her with all his heart. She means more to life than life itself to him. At this very moment, April is in the hospital, about to give birth to their first child. Margot Dorn was April's mother. To think for 1 minute that Draper Scott could be responsible for inflicting such anguish and grief upon the woman he loved is beyond belief. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am convinced of Draper's innocence. All you must believe is that a reasonable doubt exists. And I can't imagine any member of this jury, after hearing Draper's testimony, his denial under oath that he had any involvement whatsoever in this crime, would not also be convinced of his sincerity and his innocence. That being the case, I am sure you will return from your deliberations with a verdict of not guilty.
How'd you hear?
One of the house staff called and said April had been readmitted.
Yeah, we may be an aunt and uncle a lot sooner than we thought we were going to be.
She's gone into labor?
Well, the doctor isn't sure if it's the real thing or not, but she's resting now. She asked me to leave the room.
Well, I guess there's nothing we can do but wait then.
It's 2 months early.
I know. All right. Well, it may be all right. I mean, she's going to get the best of care, and so will the child. Look, as long as we're here, do you mind if we talk?
No.
Let's go around the corner, shall we? I wanted to tell you that Dr. Perry came to my office yesterday.
What did she have to say?
She suggested that I wasn't doing myself that much of a favor by trying to go through this withdrawal period by myself.
I agree.
She made a suggestion, told me about a place she thought I'd be wiser to go to speed up my recovery.
Drug Rehabilitation Center.
No. She thought I'd be better off at home.
Well, you know, I agree with her. You'd be with people who love you and who want to help you get better. Are you planning to take her advice?
I'm not sure it's a wise idea.
Why do you feel that way? I don't understand.
Well, for one thing, because it's still my problem.
No, well, that is where you're wrong. It's our problem. Now, I may not have been fed any of that drug, but I've been suffering its effects just the same.
Oh, that's exactly it. I don't want to put you through that kind of hell anymore.
You are putting me through hell by not coming home.
I was going to stop by last night and talk to you about this.
Why didn't you?
I was there. As I was about to come in, I saw Derek coming out of the house.
Terrific timing. Miles, Derek was there for less than 5 minutes. He came there to discuss a forensic problem with you. You have to believe that.
It was all I could do to keep myself from bursting in, ranting and raving all over again.
Well, you didn't. Obviously, you kept your head. See? You're getting better.
Well, I was able to walk away last night. I don't know if it happens next time, if I'll be able to do that.
If it does happen another time, we can deal with it together.
Nicole, I miss you so much.
House is so empty without you.
I've only stayed away because I loved you. You know that.
Well, then would you come home because you love me?
Are you sure that you want me to? I mean, even though I'm the way I am right now, are you sure you would want me back?
More than anything in the world.
Then I'm coming home, Mrs. C. I hope little Adam is ready for this kind of a welcome home party.
He'll be thrilled.
How's April? Have you talked to Dr. Buckley?
No, we haven't.
April was just fine. She was resting when I left her. What are you doing here so soon?
The trial is over.
Yes, Mike's closing remarks were very effective.
Yeah, he was really terrific. The jury's begun deliberating, so we got permission from the court to come to the hospital and check on April.
Look, I've got to see how she's doing. Excuse me. Where's my wife?
Are you Mr. Scott?
Yeah, I'm Mr. Scott. Where's my wife?
Your wife is in the delivery room, Mr. Scott. The baby is definitely on its way.
Miles and Nicole, just had a thought. Do you know, this is just how I visualized it. I mean, you know, being here in the hospital, pacing up and down in the hallway, waiting for the nurse to come out and tell me I'm a father.
Well, it usually happens that way, Draper.
Yeah, but we didn't know it was going to happen so soon. Miles, it's the 7th month.
Well, it's not all that unusual, Draper, especially in a first delivery. Just stop worrying so much, will you?
Besides, you know, we have absolutely no guarantee that she's going to have the baby now. This could be a false alarm.
Yeah. If it is a false alarm, I'll know the reason. It's my fault. I should never have allowed her to go to that courtroom.
Draper, you couldn't have kept her away.
You know, there's part of this that I didn't visualize when I imagined the whole story.
What's that?
Well, I didn't imagine that while waiting for word of my daughter, I'd also be waiting for the verdict from a jury.
Doctor, how is she? She's gonna be all right. She's not gonna die, right?
Oh, of course not, April. Don't even say such a thing.
She can't die. Draper needs us. He needs both of us.
You know, the two of you don't have to wait around like this. I mean, this whole thing is probably going to take hours. You must have things to do. Miles, I'm sure you have patients to see.
Yes, I do. Some of them are right here in the hospital, so you see I'm on home territory.
Get the message.
Speaking of home, I think there's something you haven't heard about yet.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
Miles is going to be coming home.
It's terrific.
I guess it is the best way to get my head together, as long as Nicole is willing to take the risk.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I heard that Lola Madison put amphetamines in your water cooler. That woman ought to be in jail.
Well, that's what Chief Mallory thinks.
Oh, no.
But Miles doesn't want to risk it.
Just bound to be too messy, more trouble than it's worth. Besides, it's going to be bad for my practice. I mean, there are bound to be people who believe I took the stuff on purpose, that I'm some kind of a speed freak.
Yeah, well, when we're all alone together, maybe you can tell me all about it.
I'll give you a chapter and verse as soon as things settle down here.
Yeah, well, depending on what happens, maybe you'll be writing it to me.
Oh, Draper, please, no more negative thinking.
I just gotta find out what's happening in that delivery room. I don't care about the jury room anymore. I have to know if my baby is going to have a father when she gets here. Mike.
Good morning.
Mike.
Draper, any word?
I mean, she was in the labor room all night, Mike. I mean, they just took her into the delivery room.
Is the baby on the way?
Well, the contractions are very frequent, but they might subside again like they did the last time.
Michael, what are you doing here? Do you have some sort of news?
I just got a phone call. The jury has reached a verdict.
All right.
That means we have to get back to the courthouse right away.
Mike, I can't look at me. I've been here all night. I've got to go home and shave and shower.
Look, we'll stay here, all right, Draper?
You just hurry, okay?
Okay, if you stay with her, I appreciate it. I shouldn't be too long. Look, if you do see April, don't tell her about this. This isn't a time for her to worry about me.
Draper.
Thanks.
Look, when you say her condition is satisfactory, does that mean that she has had the baby or not? Oh well, thank you, Brent. No, okay, that's all I want to know, that she hasn't had the baby. Thank you. You know, I don't know why I even bother calling hospitals. You can never learn anything.
Well, at least we know the baby hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah. Don't know anything from that. God, this is just awful, you know? April is going through that terrible thing at the same time that the jury... I don't even want to think about it. It just makes
Yeah,
me
well,
sick.
at least it isn't first-degree murder anymore. Second, for that matter. What does the new penal code call it? Class A1 felony?
Class A1, oh my God, it sounds like my draft notice.
Yeah, I mean, instead of going to boot camp, you go to jail.
You know, that isn't very funny.
Why not? Look, you started it. Deborah, you've investigated Margot Dorn's murder because it was your job now, just because the evidence came in against Draper. It's not your fault, my fault, his fault. It's nobody's fault.
Yes, it was our fault that we didn't come up with other evidence, Steve.
Assuming that there was other evidence to find.
There's got to be other
Come on,
evidence.
wait a minute. Look, let's not holler before we're hurt, for Pete's sakes. Maybe we'll get a not guilty verdict. Mike Carr gave a hell of a closing speech yesterday.
Yeah, he did. Saxon.
Deborah, it's Owen.
Oh, hi.
Hi, yourself. I just thought I'd call and let you know that I'm all packed. My reservation's confirmed, and you won't have Owen Madison to kick around anymore.
Oh, Owen, don't say that. Not even as a joke.
Well, I just thought I'd introduce a little note of pathos into my voice there, so I could convince you to come and see me one last time before I head off to Hollywood and whatever happens to the rest of my life.
Yes, of course. I would like to come see you, except I just don't know when.
I won't be leaving for a couple of days.
Well, I think right now would be the best time. You see, after this, I don't know where I'm going to be. I could be anywhere in town.
All right, well, if you can make it right now, that's good. How's my hotel? Is that okay?
Fine.
And I promise, I'll only ask you one question.
Calvin, are you absolutely sure you don't mind covering for me?
Oh, are you kidding? As many times as you've done it for me, the least I can do is return the favor. And, anyway, I know how important it is for you to go and see Owen before he takes off.
He'll probably just ask you to go out there with him again, the way he did the last time.
Oh, I doubt that. I mean, considering the answer I gave him the last time.
Oh, I don't know. He's a pretty persuasive kind of guy. Here he's got this great big movie deal all lined up. You know, maybe he's gonna take Red out there with him and make her a movie star.
Look, I promise I won't be gone very long, okay?
Oh, it's okay with me.
What about you?
Doesn't matter to me. I mean, you've got every right to say goodbye to an old friend.
You know, very happy.
Hey, of course I'm happy. He's leaving, isn't he? What do you want me to do? Buy him a gift and send it to the airport?
Well, maybe you could come with me.
No, I'm sure Owen wants to say goodbye to you all by yourself. Besides, I've got lineups to write, reports to look at, and a very important racquetball game with Kenny Birdsong.
You sure you don't mind?
Why should I mind?
Why don't you mind?
Well, okay then, I mind.
Well, you still want me to go?
Look, want to go? You want to go? Go.
Yeah, I think I should go. I think I should, that's all.
Well, then go.
You want me to go? You're glad I'm going?
Look, I'm not glad you go. For Pete's sakes, would you go?
Well, I am not going to go until you kiss me.
Hey, come on, you two. Are you kidding? You know how that she feels about stuff like that.
What he doesn't know won't hurt him.
It's still unconfirmed, but the report that the verdict in the Scott case is imminent has attracted a sizable crowd in and around the courthouse. Draper Scott, one of Monticello's most promising young attorneys, took the witness stand yesterday morning in his own behalf. As promised by his counsel, his associate and friend, Michael Carr, Scott was the only witness called by the defense, relying on the sincerity and conviction of his testimony to convince the jury of 4 men and 8 women that he was not responsible for the bludgeoning death of his mother-in-law, Margot Huntington Dorn. Whether or not that jury was impressed by his statement and by Michael Carr's own impassioned summation, in which he freely admitted that the defense had no counter-explanation for the mysterious death of Margot Dorn.
One should think you'd be terribly interested in the outcome of that trial.
But there isn't any outcome yet, is there? The jury hasn't returned.
There's a rumor that the jury has returned. That's why I was listening.
Well, we will know soon enough. Frankly, I think it'd be a terrible miscarriage of justice if that young man were to be set free. Not that I would be surprised.
Why wouldn't you be? Considering all that evidence against him?
I'm a bit cynical about those people, Nola. I mean, they were lawyers, aren't they? Even the judge was a lawyer once. Why would they send one of their own kind to prison?
You forget, darling, it's the jury who will do that.
I know that, but even if they find him guilty, the judge will hand down a very light sentence. You just wait and see.
No, I think you're wrong. There's such a thing as mandatory sentences.
Well, it's not mandatory for me to think about this trial all the time. It's not good for me either. I think I'll go and find a nice book and curl up. Not a mystery.
We repeat, there's still no word on the jury verdict in the Draper Scott case.
Yes?
Raven, it's Elliot.
Oh, Elliot, hello. What do you want?
Hey, look around and see if you can find a better tone of voice.
I'm sorry, darling. It's just that I don't have time for a chat. I have to go shopping.
I've got to see you, Raven. It's important.
Yes, I'm sure it's very important. Actually, there are very few important things in my life, but shopping happens to be one of them.
Well, this happens to be more important than shopping. I have a vital decision to make.
Elliot, McGrath has a sale once a year. This is the last day.
I could understand your hesitancy, Raven, if you told me you had to go to the courthouse. I'm sure you've heard the rumor that the jury has returned.
No, I hadn't heard. What's the verdict?
Hasn't been announced yet. I'm sure you'd be interested, seeing you told me that you were once engaged to Draper Scott.
We all make mistakes. Fortunately, mine was corrected by me in plenty of time.
Really? You mean you were the one who broke off the engagement?
Yes, I was. I felt that Draper was a very immature boy, and he certainly proved it with his little temper tantrum. I mean, it got him in a lot of trouble.
I doubt that the child could have wielded the poker as well as he did.
Really? I can't imagine the court will find him guilty. They'll send him to prison for years.
Well, I don't care about that. I'm worried about the years ahead of me. Raven, I may have to leave Monticello.
How dreary. The second I get back into town, all the good-looking men are leaving. If you leave and Draper goes to prison...
Listen to me, Raven. I may have to go to California.
Oh, yes, to be a movie star. Wait a minute. It's not for your career, is it? It's Nola Madison. Does she want you to go there with her?
Yes, she decided to close up the house here and move out there permanently.
Well, then, I guess you'll have to go. You are engaged to her. She does wear the pants in the relationship, the pants with all the money in the pockets.
Listen, Raven. I don't feel like going anymore.
Well, why not? If you want to be a movie star, Elliot, you have to go to Hollywood. That's where it's at, baby.
I have no illusions about my movie career, I told you that. If the reviews are good, maybe something will come of it, but otherwise...
Otherwise, there's the lovely Nola Madison.
Raven, you gotta listen to me. I have to see you. We have to talk about this.
Elliot, what do you want from me? You want my advice?
Maybe advice is what I want. Oh, why don't you understand? Everything was so clear to me before you decided to come back here. I thought I knew exactly what I wanted.
Yes, Nola Patterson Madison.
But now that you're back... Ah, damn you, Raven. Why did you have to come back?
Oh, because I felt like it.
You just do because you feel like it, huh? Mm-hmm. But I also know you have reasons for everything you do. Now, come on, out with it. Why did you come back here? What was the reason you were hiding out? What did you do all those weeks before we met on the street?
Elliot, it's none of your business. Now I do have to go.
Raven, don't you even care what I'm saying? I'm leaving. You may never see me again.
But of course I will, on the silver screen.
I've got to see you, Raven. Tonight.
All right, look. I can't see you tonight. Tomorrow. The old coach house. 6:30?
All right, I'll be there.
Okay.
All rise. Criminal Court of the County of Monticello is now in session. The Honorable Martin Oliveri presiding. Be seated.
The defendant will rise. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict in this case?
We have, Your Honor.
The foreman will read the verdict to the court.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Draper Scott, guilty as charged.
Well, that's the question, Deborah. Pure and simple. Should I just go off to Hollywood and forget about you?
No woman likes to be forgotten, Owen.
It'd be a lot easier on me if I could. I don't think I could anyway, even if you did ask me. Any more than I could forget the other things that changed my life.
Yes, well, I'm sure you're not going to be able to forget Nola even if you tried.
No, I won't forget her. Even if I did, I'm sure she'd remind me. You know that she's leaving too.
What? No, I hadn't heard.
Well, so she informs me. So I guess we'll both be saying goodbye to Monticello. I've closed up the house and putting it on the market. It's all rather final and sad, isn't it?
Well, I'm sure I don't blame her for leaving. In fact, I know why she is.
Oh, because of the masquerade party.
Oh, I don't think you know how far that little party went, do you? See, I've learned certain things.
Such as?
I don't think I want to turn you against Nola any more than you already are, no.
Oh, please. Go on.
Well, you remember I was suspecting that she was putting drugs into my food?
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Well, I found out that she was. And I found out where she got them, too.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm. She was using barbiturates in my food to try to make a wreck out of me. Did a good job. And she was also using amphetamines to keep somebody else from exposing her.
Who?
My doctor, Miles Cavanaugh.
Miles Cavanaugh? Oh, my God. It's just too much. I mean, she's just gone absolutely crazy. How in God's name is this going to be kept quiet?
Well, there are no plans to make it public, Owen. You don't have to worry about that. Neither Miles nor I want to press charges. The publicity would be terrible.
The word is ruinous. Oh, boy. You know, it's funny, just before you came here, I was looking through this box of old photographs and memorabilia, thinking about the past, about Nola, thinking I'd like to just put all these memories behind me. Well, I suppose the best way to do that is just to chuck it all in the wastebasket, huh? What do you think?
Wait a minute.
What?
What is this?
Oh, that's one of Nola's photos, actually. She took it herself.
Oh, boy. I wish I had seen this earlier. You know, if I'd known that Nola was dressing up as Martha Corey, I could have stopped
No,
this
wait
whole
a
thing.
minute, wait a minute now. I'm wrong. No, that's not Nola at all. No, it's that woman.
What woman?
That newspaper woman. Yes, I remember when Nola brought these photographs home. Actually, I kept this one as a copy for myself. You see, what she liked to do was to find a living model that she could use for her makeup. And that way she just got better results, I guess.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that this is not Nola? Are you sure?
Positive.
Miles. Draper, what happened?
What's the verdict? Not good.
What about April? Any news?
Yeah, there is news. It's good news, Draper, thank God. You have a little baby girl.
Seems as though a harmony is hard to find, always on our mind, and frustrated days pass without sight, the edge of night, half dark, half light, as we watch our hearts trying to hold the tenderness that we once had